Okay, this is the continuation of the 15-minute chart, and once you've triggered into the trade from this corrective rally terminating at the extension of 618, once you trigger into it, let's talk about how to manage it. So here's the multiple time frame trigger. On the 15-minute chart, you had a 50-34 trigger, and once you were in, you see that it's smooth sailing on the 15-minute chart, and here's a smaller symmetry that would show up on the smaller chart. This point from there to there, that's a smaller symmetry, and you see that this symmetry is never violated. So once again, I'm taking this low to this high, and you see that rhythm was never interrupted. And 15-minute CCI goes below the 100 line and stays below 100 all the way until here. So you had no reason to get out of the trade until CCI broke above 100, somewhere around here. And you could have used symmetry to manage the trade. Now, that's the 15-minute chart. Looks good. But if you look at the 5-minute chart, and this is the reason you don't want to micromanage using a 5-minute chart. You could use the 5-minute chart to trigger into the trade, because at this point the trigger is the 50-34Z, the reject of the zero line right there. But once you trigger into it, and the reason you could use it here is that there was multiple time frame lineup. The 15-minute lined up for 50-34. The 1 hour, as we saw earlier, had a 50-14. So that's why it's okay to use the 5-minute in conjunction at this white line point. But once you trigger into it, you see how the 50 CCI is just a mess. It loses the 100 line, it goes up against, it loses the 100, it never loses the 0, but if you were looking at this 100 line, it would have made you nervous to lose it here. But you see, if you look at the symmetry, that's that smaller symmetry that I pointed out on the 15-minute chart. Using this rhythm, you see that this was never violated, and this down here, it was barely violated, or maybe not even violated. And also the 34 EMA served as resistance, but you can't count on the 15. You can't be looking at the 5-minute CCI. It would scare you out of the trade. You had to look at the 15-minute CCI and look at the resistance symmetry holding. And if you use a Fibonacci tool, you'll see that this, once you triggered into it, this held the 38% resistance along with that resistance symmetry. So this little bounce was nothing to worry about when you looked at the 15-minute CCI and the retracement series of 38%, and also this symmetry resistance holding. And it's the same thing down here. Again, the 38% is holding along with the 34 EMA, and the 15-minute CCI was still below 100. The 15-minute CCI, let's look at that again. The 15-minute CCI doesn't lose the 100 line until over here, until this point where you see this positive divergence here to here at an extension. This was the 1618 extension right here. So let's zoom out. There's your corrective rally, A, B, C, D, and from A to D, retracing 1618 down to here is the target. The 1272 target was over here. 1618 target was over here. If you trusted your 15 minutes CCI below 100, you would have had a very nice trade. So the point here is not to get scared out of the trade by looking at the 3-minute and the 5-minute. Those time frames are used in conjunction with the higher time frames to trigger into the trade as a multiple time frame trigger, but your real trigger is the 15-minute. So this was a 15-minute trigger of 50.34. Price crossing 34, CCI crossing the zero line. And once CCI goes below 100, you have smooth sailing all the way to here, which is the 1618 target. All the meantime, you had symmetry resistance and 38% over here, and then same thing over here, symmetry resistance holding, and price holding the 38.2 retracement as resistance. And this is where you triggered in with the nice 50.34 on the 15-minute. So that's how you manage the trade. And once again, don't get scared out of the 3 and 5-minute chart CCI. Those are used only in conjunction as a multiple time frame trigger. See, another way to look at it is you use the 3 and 5-minute multiple time frame trigger simultaneously with the 15 and 1 hour lining up to get into the trade. To get out of the trade, you really don't have a simultaneous exit trigger to exit the trade, because the 15-minute is telling you to stay in. So you have multiple time frame triggers to come in, and the 3 and 5-minute charts by themselves should not get you out of the trade. That should really be the 15-minute CCI crossing back above 100, which doesn't happen until here. So if you use that to manage the trades, you'll get a very good result.